rehearsed. The phone rang at 6 in the morning. I was already awake. I'd been awake since 4, sitting in the kitchen with cold coffee and the kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat. The house felt bigger than it used to. Empty rooms echo differently when you're the only one listening. I looked at the screen. My son's name glowed there like an accusation. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. "Dad," he said. His voice had that careful quality people use when they're about to deliver bad news they've rehearsed. "We need to talk." "Good morning to you too," I said. There was a pause. I could hear him breathing, could practically see him glancing at whoever was in the room with him. Probably his wife. Maybe his sister. They'd be sitting close, sharing the same script. "I know this is early," he said, "but this is important. It's about the estate, about your assets." I took a sip of the coffee. It was cold and bitter. "What about them?" "Dad, we've been worried. You're not getting any younger and managing everything on your own. It's a lot. We think it's time to simplify things." Simplify. That was a good word. Clean, professional. The kind of word consultants use when they mean something else entirely. Simplify how? "We want to help. Me and Jennifer, we've talked to some people. Financial advisors, estate planners. They all say the same thing. At your age, you should be focused on enjoying life, not dealing with paperwork and investments and property management." "I'm 63, I said, "not 90. I know, but things can change fast. What if something happens? What if you get sick? We need to have systems in place. We need to make sure everything's protected." Protected. Another good word. "What exactly are you proposing?" He exhaled, and I heard relief in it. He thought I was considering it. He thought I was already halfway to agreeing. "We want to take over management of the assets. Not take them away, just manage them. You'd still have access to everything you need. We'd just handle the complicated stuff, the investments, the properties, the accounts. You wouldn't have to worry about any of it." "That's generous," I said. "We're family," he said quickly. "This is what family does." I stood up and walked to the window. The sun was starting to come up, turning the sky from black to dark blue. The street was empty except for one car parked 3 houses down. I'd never seen it before. "When did you want to do this?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Soon," he said. "This week, ideally. We've already drawn up the paperwork. It's straightforward. Just a transfer of management authority. You'd sign, we'd file it, and that's it. Easy. You've already drawn up the paperwork." "Just to save time," he said. "We didn't want to drag this out. The lawyers said it was better to have everything ready." "The lawyers," I repeated. "Estate lawyers. They specialize in this kind of thing." I watched the street. The car was still there. "What does Jennifer think about all this?" I asked. "She's completely on board. She's actually the one who suggested it. She has experience with this kind of planning. Her family went through something similar a few years ago." "Her family," I said. "The ones who stopped talking to each other after her grandmother died." Silence on the line. "That was different," he said finally. "They didn't plan ahead. That's exactly why we're doing this now, while everyone's still healthy and thinking clearly." "While everyone's still healthy," I echoed. "Dad, I know this feels sudden, but it's not. We've been thinking about this for months. We've done our research. We've consulted professionals. This is the right move." Months. He'd been planning this for months. "Who else knows about this?" I asked. "Just immediate family, me, Jennifer, your daughter, her husband. We wanted to keep it small until we talked to you." All 4 of them. Working together, planning together, rehearsing together. "And your mother?" The silence that followed was different, heavier. "Mom's been part of the conversations," he said carefully. "She agrees this makes sense. My wife, my partner for 38 years, the woman who knew me better than anyone." "Put her on the phone," I said. "She's not here right now. She's at the store." At 6 in the morning? She couldn't sleep. You know how she is. I did know how she was. I knew she wouldn't be at any store at 6 in the morning. I knew she wouldn't be part of any conversation that ended with my son calling me like this. Send me the paperwork, I said. What? The paperwork. The documents you've already prepared. Send them to me. I'll look them over. Dad, this really needs to happen quickly. The lawyer said. Send them, I said. Today. I'll read them tonight and give you an answer tomorrow. Tomorrow, he repeated. He sounded uncertain now. Off script. Is that a problem? No, no problem. I thought we could meet today. Go over everything in person. It would be easier to explain. Tomorrow, I said again. Send the documents. I'll call you. I hung up before he could respond. The car down the street started its engine and pulled away. I poured the cold coffee down the sink and made a fresh pot. My hands were steady. My heart rate was normal. I felt calm in the way you feel calm when you've been expecting something bad and it finally arrives. The documents came 3 hours later, not by email, by courier. A kid in a uniform rang the doorbell and handed me a thick manila envelope with my name printed on a label. Professional. Prepared, ready to go. I signed for it and took it inside. The envelope was heavier than it should have been, more paper than a simple transfer of authority would require. I set it on the kitchen table and looked at it for a long time. Then I made a phone call. It's me, I said when she answered. I know, my wife said. Her voice was tight. Are you okay? I'm fine. Where are you? At Margaret's house. I told them I was going to the store, but I came here instead. I didn't want to be there when he called you. Margaret was her oldest friend, 70 years old and sharper than most people half her age. What did they tell you? I asked. That they were worried about you, that you were getting forgetful, that you'd made some bad financial decisions recently and they needed to step in before things got worse. Bad financial decisions. They showed me bank statements, transactions they said didn't make sense, withdrawals to accounts they didn't recognize. I smiled without humor. Did you believe them? Of course not, she said. I know every account we have. I know every transaction. But they were very convincing, very concerned. Your daughter actually cried. She cried. Performance tears. The kind she used to do in high school when she wanted to go to a party, but they looked real enough. I opened the envelope and pulled out the documents. They were professionally printed, bound, tabbed, the kind of presentation that costs money. They sent the paperwork, I said. Already? 3 hours after the phone call. Courier delivery. She was quiet for a moment. How long have you known? She asked. About 6 months. Little things started adding up. Calls they didn't know I overheard, meetings they didn't mention, your daughter's husband asking questions about the properties in Michigan. What are you going to do? I flipped through the documents. Transfer of management authority, durable power of attorney, revocable trust amendment, and buried in the middle, on page 47, a clause that would effectively lock me out of everything I owned. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, I said. What? I'm going to sign everything. Tomorrow, in front of them. I'm going to make it easy. Have you lost your mind? Remember when we set up the secondary structure? I asked. The one you said was paranoid? Another silence. Then her voice changed. The conditional trust. The conditional trust, I confirmed. The one that only activates if specific circumstances are met. The one we built 7 years ago when your son started asking too many questions about inheritance. But that was just insurance. We never thought. We hoped we'd never need it, I said. Turns out we do. What triggers it? Any attempt to transfer control without your signature? Any attempt to claim management authority while we're both living and competent? Any action that suggests coercion or elder manipulation? I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. If you sign those documents, she said slowly, without me, while they've told people you're incompetent. The trust automatically transfers everything to a third-party management structure. One they don't know exists, one they can't access, one that specifically excludes them from any authority or benefit. Oh my God. They've been planning this for months, I said. We've been planning for 7 years. What do you need me to do? Stay away. Stay at Margaret's. Don't answer their calls. Don't let them use you to pressure me. They'll try. I know. That's why you need to disappear for a few days. Can Margaret handle that? Margaret will love it. She hates them anyway. She's never forgiven your son for what he said at her husband's funeral. I remembered. My son had made a joke about inheritance during the reception. Margaret had gone quiet in a way that made the room feel cold. I'll call you when it's done, I said. Be careful. I will. And honey? Yeah? Make it hurt. I smiled, a real smile this time. I will. I spent the rest of the day reading the documents, every page, every clause, every footnote. I read them the way a lawyer reads a contract he's planning to break, looking for the gaps, the assumptions, the places where they'd been too confident. They'd been very confident. The paperwork was designed to do exactly what my son had said, transfer management authority to him and his sister. But it went further. Buried in the legal language were provisions that would let them sell properties, liquidate accounts, restructure investments, anything they wanted as long as they claimed it was in my best interest. And there, on the final page, was the signature line. Mine. Only mine. They hadn't even bothered to include my wife. That was their first mistake. At 8 o'clock that evening, my phone rang again, my daughter this time. Dad, she said. Her voice was warm, concerned, everything a daughter's voice should be. I heard you talk to your son this morning. I did. How are you feeling about everything? Fine. Dad, this must be overwhelming. We know it's a lot to process, but we really do think this is the right thing. For you, for Mom, for everyone. Your brother said you were part of this. I am. We all are. We just want to help. By taking control of everything I own. A pause. When she spoke again, her voice had changed slightly, less warm, more careful. Not taking control, managing. There's a difference. Explain the difference. You'd still have access to everything. You'd still make the decisions. We'd just handle the implementation, the paperwork, the complicated stuff. Uh-huh. Dad, are you angry? Should I be? No. God, no. This isn't... We're not trying to push you out. We're trying to protect you, both of you. This is about making sure you're taken care of. By removing my authority over my own assets. That's not what this is. That's exactly what this is. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, the warmth was gone completely. Have you read the documents? I have. And? They're very thorough. So you understand what we're proposing? I understand what you're doing. Then you know this makes sense. You know this is the smart play. Smart play. That was interesting phrasing. Like this was a game. Like there were sides. I'll sign them, I said. You will? She sounded surprised, maybe disappointed, like she'd been gearing up for a fight and I'd surrendered too easily. Tomorrow, I said, set up a meeting, somewhere neutral. I'll sign everything. Dad, that's great. That's really great. I knew you'd see reason. One condition, I said. What? Your mother doesn't come. This is between me and you kids. She doesn't need to be involved. Another pause. Longer. Why? She asked. Because she'll ask questions. She'll want explanations. She'll drag this out. And you said this needs to happen quickly. That's true. So we do it without her. Just family. You, your brother, me, nice and clean. What about the spouses? Sure, bring them. The more witnesses, the better. I could almost hear her thinking. Okay, she said finally. Okay, we can do that. I'll set something up for tomorrow afternoon. I'll text you the details. Sounds good. Dad? Yeah? Thank you for being reasonable about this. I know it's not easy. No, I said. It's not. I hung up and sat in the dark kitchen for a while. Reasonable. That's what she'd called me. Reasonable. They had no idea. At midnight, I went down to the basement. It was unfinished. Concrete floor and exposed beams, the kind of space that exists in old houses for storage and forgotten things. In the back corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and old furniture, was a metal filing cabinet. It was locked. I had the only key. Inside were documents that hadn't seen daylight in 7 years, trust agreements, corporate structures, offshore account details, a network of legal entities and financial instruments that existed for one purpose, to protect everything I'd built from exactly this situation. My wife and I had set it up after the first warning sign. After my son had asked very casually over dinner one night, what would happen to the properties if something happened to me? He'd framed it as concern, practical planning, but there'd been something in his eyes, something calculating. We'd gone to lawyers the next week, different lawyers, ones my children didn't know, and we'd built a structure so complex, so layered, so thoroughly protected that it would take a team of forensic accountants years to unravel. And we'd built in triggers, specific conditions that would automatically transfer control away from me, away from them, into the hands of a management company we controlled through intermediaries they'd never heard of. One of those triggers was simple: any attempt to claim control without my wife's participation. The documents they'd sent me, the ones they wanted me to sign tomorrow, would activate that trigger the moment I signed them. They thought they were taking everything. They were actually locking themselves out. I put the documents back in the cabinet and locked it. Then I went upstairs and slept better than I had in months. The meeting was set for 2 o'clock at a business center downtown. Not an office building, not a conference room in a law firm, a rented space in one of those anonymous complexes where startups and consultants do business they don't want traced to permanent addresses. That told me everything I needed to know about how seriously they were taking this. I arrived 15 minutes early. The parking lot was half empty. The building was glass and steel, modern in the way things are modern when they're trying to look more expensive than they are. The lobby smelled like new carpet and air freshener. A directory on the wall listed the business center on the 3rd floor. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. My knees weren't what they used to be, but I wanted to be moving when I arrived. Alert. Ready. The business center was a maze of small conference rooms with glass walls and minimalist furniture. A receptionist who looked barely 20 glanced up from her computer. "Can I help you?" "I have a meeting. Room 7. She checked her screen. "Name?" I gave it to her. "They're already here. Down the hall, last door on the right." I nodded and walked past her. The hallway was silent except for the sound of my shoes on the polished floor. Through the glass walls, I could see other meetings happening. People in suits pointing at laptops, handshakes, smiles that didn't reach eyes. Room 7 was at the end. Through the glass, I could see them. My son, my daughter, my son's wife, Jennifer, my daughter's husband, Todd. 4 people sitting around a conference table with documents spread in front of them. They looked up when I entered. "Dad!" My daughter stood first. She was wearing a business suit, navy blue, perfectly tailored. Her hair was pulled back, professional, like this was a real business meeting and not family. My son stood too. He was in slacks and a button-down, no tie, trying to strike a balance between formal and casual. His wife stayed seated. So did Todd. "Thanks for coming," my son said. "I know this isn't easy." "Where do you want me?" I asked. They glanced at each other. My daughter gestured to the chair at the head of the table. "Here's fine." I sat down. The chair was comfortable. Too comfortable. The kind designed to make you relax, lower your guard. The documents were arranged in front of me. 3 copies, each one tabbed and marked with sticky notes where I needed to sign. A pen rested on top of the stack. Expensive. Heavy. The kind you use when you want signatures to feel permanent. "Did you read everything?" my son asked. I did. Do you have any questions? No. He blinked. No questions at all? It's pretty straightforward. You want management authority. These documents give it to you. It's more nuanced than that, Jennifer said. She spoke for the first time, her voice cool and precise. We're not taking anything away from you. We're just creating a structure where decisions can be made more efficiently. Efficiently, I repeated. For everyone's benefit, Todd added. He was sitting back in his chair, arms crossed, watching me. He'd always been the quiet one, the planner. I'd never liked him. Where's Mom? My daughter asked. I thought she might come. She's at a friend's house. Which friend? Margaret's. Still? Still, my daughter frowned. Dad, it's been almost 2 days. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. She wanted some space. Space from what? From this. The room went quiet. She knows about the meeting? My son asked. She knows. And she didn't want to come? I didn't want her to come. Why not? I looked at him. Because this is between me and you. She doesn't need to be here for me to sign paperwork. Another silence. Jennifer shifted in her seat. Todd uncrossed his arms. The thing is, Jennifer said carefully, legally speaking, for something like this, it's usually better if both spouses are present, to avoid any questions later. Questions about what? About whether you were under duress, or whether there was any coercion. Do I look like I'm under duress? No, but then there's no problem. My son leaned forward. Dad, we're just trying to make sure everything is done right. We've consulted lawyers. They all said the same thing. Both spouses should sign. These documents don't have a line for her signature, I said. They glanced at each other again. That's an oversight, my daughter said quickly. We can add one. Do you have documents for her to sign? Not with us, but we can have them prepared. Then we'll do this in 2 steps, I said. I'll sign today. She'll sign later. That's not ideal, Todd said. I looked at him. Why not? Because it creates a gap, a period where the transfer is incomplete. That could cause complications. What kind of complications? He shrugged. Legal ones, financial ones. If something were to happen during that gap period. Nothing's going to happen, I said. You don't know that. I'm 63. I'm healthy. I'll be fine. Dad, my son said. His voice had an edge now. Can you just call Mom? Ask her to come down here? It would be a lot simpler if we could wrap this up today. She won't come. How do you know if you don't ask? Because I know my wife. Then we'll reschedule, my daughter said. We'll pick a time when she's available. I'm here now, I said. The documents are ready. I'm ready to sign. Let's do it. They stared at me. My son's jaw was tight. Jennifer was watching me with narrowed eyes. My daughter looked uncertain, like she was trying to figure out if this was good or bad. Todd spoke first. You're sure about this? I'm sure. And you understand what you're signing? I do. Once this is done, we'll have management authority over all assets. Properties, investments, accounts, everything. I understand. He studied me for a moment longer. Then he nodded. Okay, let's do it. My son slid the first document toward me. Start with this one. Sign and date where the tabs are. I picked up the pen. It was heavy in my hand, balanced. The kind of pen that made you feel like whatever you were signing mattered. I opened the first document. Transfer of management authority. 7 signature lines, each one marked with a bright yellow tab. I signed the first one. The pen scratched across the paper. My handwriting looked steady, confident. Nobody spoke. I signed the second line, the third, the fourth. My daughter was watching my hand. My son was watching my face. Jennifer and Todd were watching each other. I finished the first document and moved to the second. Durable power of attorney, 5 signatures. I signed them all. The third document was thicker. Revocable trust amendment. 12 signatures. Halfway through, my son cleared his throat. Dad, are you sure you don't want to read these sections again? Just to be certain? I read them last night. But still, I'm sure. I kept signing. When I finished, I set the pen down and pushed the documents back across the table. Done, I said. They stared at the papers. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Jennifer reached out and picked up the first document. She flipped through it, checking each signature. My son did the same with the second. My daughter took the third. These are all signed, Jennifer said quietly. That's what you wanted, isn't it? I asked. Yes, but... She looked at my son. I didn't think it would be this easy. My son was staring at the documents in his hands like they might disappear. Neither did I. What happens now? I asked. Todd answered. We file these with the appropriate institutions, banks, investment firms, property management companies. Within 48 hours, we'll have full access. And me? You'll still have access to everything you need. Personal accounts, credit cards, your checking account. We're not cutting you off. We're just creating oversight. Oversight. That was a new word. They'd been careful not to use that one before. What about the properties? I asked. What about them? Who decides if they get sold? Another glance between them. We'd consult with you, my daughter said. Obviously. But ultimately, if we think a sale is in your best interest, you can do it without my permission. It's not about permission, my son said. It's about making smart financial decisions. Smart for who? For everyone. I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. Where are you going? My daughter asked. Home. Wait, we should probably go over next steps, timeline, how this is going to work. You have the signatures. You know what to do. You don't need me here. My son stood too. Dad, don't leave like this. Stay. Let's talk this through. There's nothing to talk through. Yes, there is. We need to discuss access protocols, how you'll reach us if you need anything, how we'll keep you informed. I'll figure it out, I said. I walked to the door. My hand was on the handle when Jennifer spoke. You're taking this very well. I turned back. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. What did you expect? I asked. I don't know. Resistance? Questions? Some kind of pushback? Would that have changed anything? No. Then why would I waste the energy? I opened the door and walked out. Behind me, I heard my daughter say something I couldn't make out. Then Todd's voice, quieter. That was too easy. Jennifer responded, maybe he's just tired of fighting. I didn't hear my son's response. I was already down the hallway. The receptionist looked up as I passed. Have a good day, she said automatically. I didn't answer. Outside, the sun was too bright. I stood in the parking lot for a moment, letting my eyes adjust. My car was parked in the back corner. I'd chosen the spot deliberately, away from cameras, away from clear sight lines. I got in and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. Are you okay? I deleted it without responding. Another buzz. My son this time. Call me when you get home. We need to talk. Delete. A third text from a number I didn't recognize. Files received. Confirm processing. That one I kept. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. In my rearview mirror, I could see the building getting smaller, the glass walls reflecting sunlight, the anonymous office where my children thought they'd just won. I drove for 20 minutes before I pulled over at a gas station. I went inside, bought a coffee I didn't want, and used the bathroom. When I came back out, I sat in my car and made a phone call. It's done, I said when he answered. All the signatures? The voice was calm, professional. Everyone. And they filed? They will, within 48 hours. Perfect. We'll be ready. How long until it processes? 72 hours from filing, maybe less. The moment their claims hit the verification system, the triggers activate. And then? And then they find out what they actually signed themselves into. I ended the call and pulled back onto the road. The drive home took 30 minutes, long enough to think through what had just happened, what was about to happen. They'd asked for control. I'd given it to them. But control only means something if you understand the system you're controlling. They didn't understand the system. They thought assets were simple. Properties have deeds, accounts have passwords, investments have portfolios. Transfer the authority, transfer the access. But I'd spent 7 years making sure nothing was simple. Every property was held in a separate entity. Every account was layered through trusts. Every investment was structured through intermediaries. And every entity, every trust, every intermediary had conditions built into its founding documents. Conditions that would automatically trigger if anyone tried to claim control without proper authorization. Authorization that required 2 signatures, mine and my wife's. They'd gotten mine. They'd never get hers. And the moment they tried to activate their new authority, the moment they filed those documents and claimed management rights, the whole structure would recognize an unauthorized takeover attempt. The response would be automatic, irreversible. Every entity would transfer to a management company they didn't know existed. Every account would lock them out. Every property would shift to a holding structure they couldn't access. And it would all happen at once. 72 hours from now. I pulled into my driveway and sat for a moment, engine off, looking at my house. It was quiet. Dark, waiting. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my wife. "How did it go?" she asked. "Exactly as planned." "They took the bait?" "They practically swallowed the hook." I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. "I almost feel bad," she said. "Don't. They're our children." "Who just tried to rob us?" Silence. "When do they find out?" she asked. 3 days, maybe sooner if they move fast. "What do you think they'll do?" "Panic, fight, blame each other, and then they'll come looking for me." "Are you ready for that?" I looked at the house, the empty rooms, the silence that was about to get much louder. "I've been ready for 7 years," I said. I spent the morning driving aimlessly through the city, no destination, just movement, trying to stay ahead of my thoughts. My phone was off again. I didn't want to hear from them, didn't want to hear the panic in their voices as they realized time was running out. Around noon, I stopped at a diner, sat in a booth in the back and ordered coffee I didn't want. The place was mostly empty. A few truckers, a woman reading a newspaper, nobody who cared about the quiet man in the corner booth. I turned my phone on to check the time. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages. I didn't read any of them. Instead, I called my wife. "Where are you?" she asked. "Diner on the east side. You?" "Still safe, still hidden. How much longer?" "Few hours. System should finish processing by evening." "Are you ready?" I watched the waitress refill someone's coffee 3 booths away. "I don't know," I said. "What do you mean?" "I mean I'm not sure I'm ready for what comes after. The silence, the emptiness, knowing they're out there hating me. They tried to rob us." "I know. They lied to us, manipulated us, tried to claim we were incompetent." "I know that too. Then why do you sound uncertain?" I traced the rim of the coffee cup with one finger. "My son came to see me this morning, at the motel." "And?" "And he said something that's been bothering me. He said we're the same, him and me, that I built all these protections because I didn't trust anyone, and he learned that from me. That by protecting myself so aggressively, I taught him to do the same thing." "That's manipulation," she said. "He's trying to make you feel guilty." "Maybe. But what if he's right?" "He's not." "How do you know?" "Because you built protections against threats. He became the threat. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? We assumed they'd try something like this. We planned for it years in advance. We treated them like enemies before they did anything wrong. They proved we were right to, or we created a self-fulfilling prophecy. We treated them like threats, so they became threats. She was quiet for a moment. Are you having second thoughts? She asked finally. I don't know. Maybe. It's too late for second thoughts. The system's processing. In a few hours it's done. I know. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe my son had a point. Maybe we're all just scared. Maybe we're all just trying to protect ourselves, and we forgot how to trust each other in the process. That's very philosophical. But it doesn't change what they tried to do. No, it doesn't. So, what do you want to do about it? I looked out the diner window, traffic passing by, people going about their lives, normal lives where families didn't try to rob each other. I want to finish this, I said. I want to see it through. And then I want to disappear for a while. Go somewhere they'll never find us. Start over. Start over where? Anywhere. Somewhere warm. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere we can forget this ever happened. That sounds nice. We've earned it. We have. I finished the coffee and left cash on the table. Nobody noticed me leave. I drove around for another hour, waiting for the inevitable. At 3 o'clock, my phone buzzed. The unknown number. System processing complete. Final transfer in progress. Confirm receipt. I typed back, confirmed. Stand by for verification. I pulled into a parking lot and waited. 5 minutes. 10, 15, then another buzz. Transfer complete. All assets secured. New management structure active. Previous access revoked. They are locked out. I stared at the screen. It was done. 7 years of planning, months of watching them circle, days of enduring their lies and threats. And now it was over. They had nothing. I had everything. Or rather, I had it secured in a structure they couldn't touch. I should have felt relief, satisfaction, victory. Instead, I just felt tired. I called my wife. It's done, I said. I know. I just got the confirmation. How do you feel? Honestly? Empty. Yeah. We won. But it doesn't feel like winning. No. The silence in the room was thick enough to choke on. My daughter was crying. My son was staring at me like I'd become a stranger. Jennifer and Todd stood frozen, probably recalculating their entire investment in this family. You're making a mistake, Todd said finally. His voice was cold, professional. This isn't just about money. This is about relationships, bridges you're burning that you can't rebuild. I know exactly what I'm doing, I said. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're destroying your family over a misunderstanding. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a coordinated effort to take control of everything I own. To help you manage it. To steal it. We weren't stealing. Then what do you call preparing documents to remove my authority, telling investigators I was incompetent, tracking my movements, and trying to force my wife to sign papers she never agreed to? He didn't answer. My daughter looked up from the couch. Her face was red and blotchy. What happens now? To us? What are we supposed to do? Whatever you want, I said. You're adults. You have careers, savings, your own lives. Live them. Without any inheritance? Without counting on it while I'm still alive, yes. That's not fair. Fair? My wife stood up from her chair. Her voice was sharp. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you told people your father had dementia? Was it fair when you tried to have him declared incompetent? Was it fair when you spent months planning how to take everything he'd worked for? Mom, please. Don't mom me. I was there. I heard the conversations you thought I couldn't hear. I saw the looks you exchanged when you thought I wasn't paying attention. Like we were inconvenient obstacles standing between you and money you thought you deserved. We didn't think that. Yes, you did. And now you're angry that we protected ourselves, that we refused to be victims. My son turned to me. How long have you been planning this, really? 7 years. Jesus Christ, 7 years. You've been preparing to cut us out for 7 years? I've been preparing to protect myself for 7 years. You made yourselves the threat. By asking questions? By trying to understand your finances? By wanting to make sure everything was organized? By assuming I was too incompetent to handle my own affairs? By treating me like a problem to be solved instead of a person to be respected? We never. Yes, you did. Every conversation, every question, every concerned look. It was all about one thing. When are they going to die so we can have what's ours? That's not true, isn't it? Then why did you prepare those documents without asking me first? Why did you have lawyers draw up paperwork designed to remove my authority? Why did everything happen in secret? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at his sister. She looked away. Because you didn't trust us to agree, I said quietly. You knew that if you asked honestly, I'd say no. So you didn't ask. You just prepared to take. Jennifer spoke up. This is all very emotional, but let's talk practically. What exactly have you done with the assets? Secured them in a structure you can't access. What kind of structure? One that exists specifically to prevent unauthorized control. Who manages it? A company you don't know. Under whose authority? Ours, mine, and my wife's. And when you die? That's not your concern anymore. Her face hardened. I think you'll find it is. Because if you've moved assets to avoid legitimate claims, that's fraud, and fraud can be prosecuted, criminally. Go ahead and try, my wife said. Every structure was created legally. Every transfer was documented. Every entity was registered properly. You won't find fraud because there isn't any. We'll see what the courts say. You'll waste your money on lawyers, but go ahead. We have better ones. Todd pulled out his phone. I'm calling our attorney, right now. We're not waiting on this. Good idea, I said. Call him. Have him review everything. He'll tell you exactly what I'm telling you. You have no legal standing, no claim, no recourse. He stepped into the hallway to make the call. My son was still staring at me. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can do this. We're your children. Doesn't that mean anything? It used to. And now? Now I know what you really think of me, what you really want from me, and it's not a relationship. It's just money. That's not fair. Life's not fair. You tried to teach me that when you were 16. Remember? You said I was being naive about people, that I trusted too much, that I needed to be more careful. Well, I learned the lesson. Just took me a while to apply it to you. He flinched like I'd hit him. My daughter stood up. I want to see the documents, the structures, everything. I want to know exactly what you did. No. You can't just refuse? I can, and I am. We have a right to know. You have no rights here, none, zero. I'm not required to tell you anything about my assets, about my plans, about anything. You're not entitled to information about my finances any more than I'm entitled to information about yours. That's different. How? Because we weren't trying to cut you out. Yes, you were. You just thought you'd get away with it. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. This isn't over, she said without looking back. Yes, it is. No, it's not. We'll fight this. We'll find a way. You'll what? Sue? We covered that. Claim incompetence? You already tried. Report fraud? There isn't any. What's left? She turned in the doorway. We'll tell everyone you know, everyone you do business with. We'll tell them exactly what you did, how you cut off your own children, how you chose money over family. Go ahead. I don't care what people think. You will when your reputation is destroyed. My reputation is built on 40 years of honest business. Yours is built on trying to rob your parents. Tell people whatever you want. See who they believe. She left without another word. The door slammed behind her. Jennifer followed her out. Then Todd came back from his phone call, saw everyone leaving, and went too. My son stayed. He stood in the middle of the living room, looking lost. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I didn't respond. "I mean it. I'm sorry we pushed this. I'm sorry we didn't trust you. I'm sorry it came to this." "Are you sorry you tried? Or sorry you got caught?" He thought about that. "I don't know. Both, maybe." "That's honest, at least." "Dad, is there really no way to fix this? No way to make it right?" I looked at him. My son. The boy who'd wanted to be just like me when he grew up, who'd followed me around asking questions, who'd been proud when people said he looked like me. "I don't know," I said, "but maybe. Maybe, but not now, not soon, maybe never. You tried to take everything from me. That's not something you just forgive." "I understand." "Do you?" "I think so." "Then you understand why you need to leave now." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I do." He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. "I do love you," he said without turning around. "I know you don't believe that right now, but I do." "I know," I said. He left. The door closed softly behind him. My wife and I stood in the quiet house, alone again, like we'd been before children, before complications, before betrayal. "Are you okay?" she asked. "No." "Me neither." We stood there for a moment longer. Then I went to the window and watched their cars pull out of the driveway. 4 people who used to be family, now just strangers who shared my DNA. "What do we do now?" my wife asked. "I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe we just live our lives and see what happens. They'll come back. They'll try again. Probably, but they can't win. The structures are in place. The protections are active. They can spend years trying to break in and they'll never succeed." "Is that enough?" "It has to be." She came and stood beside me. We watched the street together, empty now, quiet. "I feel like we lost something," she said, "even though we won." We did lose something. We lost the fantasy that our children were different, better, that they'd never do something like this. "Do you think they learned it from us? What your son said about us teaching them not to trust?" "Maybe, probably. I don't know if it matters now. It matters to me." I turned to look at her. "Why?" "Because if we created this, if we taught them to be this way, then we're responsible too. They're adults. They made choices. But we influenced those choices. We showed them what to value, how to protect themselves, what to fear." "Are you saying we shouldn't have protected ourselves?" "No. I'm saying maybe we protected ourselves so aggressively that we taught them the world was more dangerous than it really is, that everyone's an enemy, that trust is weakness." I thought about that, about 7 years of building walls, of creating structures, of preparing for betrayal before it happened. "Maybe you're right," I said finally. "But even if you are, I'm not sure what we could have done differently." We could have talked to them, honestly, before any of this started. We could have said, "Here's what we have, here's how it's structured, here's what happens when we die." We could have given them certainty instead of making them guess. And if they'd tried to take it anyway? Then we'd be exactly where we are now.